But then that we've gotten an idea doesn't make the idea itself foolproof. We are going to look at feasibility. We're going to look at feasibility. Okay? Feasibility now involves a lot of things. Feasibility on our side, feasibility on their side. For me, looking at the nature and the security situation we found ourselves in this country in the last 2 years, we have to be very careful what we do and where we go. We have to be careful who handles information. 150 million people, high net worth people, civil servants, office holders, everybody. Your biodata is sitting somewhere. You must be comfortable with that place.
You know, there's even a lot more challenge that we have beyond this one. Because, for instance, look at the aviation. They tell us the other day, when you get to the airports, you're supposed to have this passenger's bill of rights. You know, some part of it on the airport or whichever office is there, so that you could see what your rights are. You could ask questions if they're being flouted. You go to some of these airports, if not all of them, you don't see it. You go to the banks, you know, they tell you, CBN, look, the banks have got to display some of those rights because the fine print, as fine as they are, some don't see it.
Yes.
You don't see it in the banks.
Yes.
And then now they come, FRC, for instance, you talked about it, getting all of this data. What is the agreement? What sense of confidentiality do the people have with this agency? Do they have this mindset that, okay, on what grounds am I giving you this? If you mess with my data, what happens to you? All of those are non-existent, and at least for some time. We haven't seen them.
Yes.
But all agencies are going on anyway.
Going on. You see, that is the bandwagon effect. And we tend to have a history of doing first things last. If I had my way, I would have expected a situation where if we wanted to go on time, real-time policing, as in IT policing now, it's meant to be a roadmap. We should be hearing the police force saying, okay, first and foremost, we are raising the bar. The average policeman by XYZ year should be having a minimum of this to even be a policeman at all. That is meant to actually feed our ambition of going IT by this period of time. As we are achieving that concurrently, we are also infusing this and that into the system. It's like a projectized thing. But what we do is we just wake up suddenly and hear that this has been approved, this has been done. We see spokespersons telling us they have been taking some very, very, very stringent and aggressive measures to tackle XYZ kind of crime, and they have been training people. But you see, the indicators on the ground do not really agree with what you hear. And that is where the problem is. And if you do not get these things straight ab initio, then implementation becomes impossible. Okay? What I'm trying to say, let me just encapsulate the whole thing. The police, as in the police personnel assets, the pointsman, the average policeman, must actually have a parity of sophistication with the toys you are buying for him to play with, or else they become dangerous toys in his hands.
But that's going to be really huge for the police to catch on with that, because if they didn't start all those training before introducing this PBCMR, and then they were to start that training before coming up with this BCMR, how do they fill in that gap?
Yeah, now that the BCMR, as we hear, is already on board, it can be done hands-on. Okay. But hands-on now means there has to be a prototype. You have to isolate a particular place and just moot a scenario and pass people through it before you put them on the field. Because I tell you, given what I saw on TV, given what brought the president to police college, I cannot confidently say, subjected to those kind of scenarios, if I were a policeman, I would not be tempted to take some huge amount of money. And from your vehicle number, I just impute and give whoever anything and everything about you.
And the important thing is, I think it boils down to what you said previously, tracing this.
Yes.
Because I listened to Tony Blair some other time. He said, look, the reason why some of these corruption cases are not so blatant there is that you could trace
it to the system,
to anywhere.
Every system in every office has an identification number. You could trace it to that table, and even on that table, you could actually trace it to probably the password that was entered to. And everybody has a unique password. So we can actually say, in fact, we even have digital signatures these days. So we could trace it to say, okay, XYZ on so day at so time, you actually imputed this, or you queried the system and got this.
You know, we actually looked at that device. I mean, we want to believe that they will have a central database where only authorized persons will be able to get information from. But the handheld device, you know, looks as basic, as we were shown the use after the program, as basic as using a phone. I mean, a host of people will argue that many people, and if not all police officers, own a telephone, a mobile telephone. So how difficult will it be for them to operate a device which is almost as simple as your telephone?
Yes, it looks as simple as the telephone. But you see, when you are looking at biodata on a national scale, you are looking at biodata of 150 million people.
Which they will not always have access to. Not all the policemen will have access to.
Yes.
All they have access to are the card readers, which will read the card.
That's what I'm saying. You have the card reader, and you just read a card. And that there goes, it gives you information. Now that device you are looking at is actually a computer device. You can see banks sitting where they are and telling you their systems are being hacked into. That's a security issue. That's an external security issue. Okay? Now what I'm trying to say is, from what we have been able to see, based on the needs of the average policeman as identified, okay, you cannot rest assured that if this man is given this kind of sensitive information based on his unmet needs, he will not be pushed to use what he has to get what he wants. Let me give you a mild example. If I was hungry, as in very hungry, probably for 3 days I haven't eaten, and you gave me some money to go and buy all those papers, I'll first of all walk into an eatery and take something, and whatever remains, I will use it to buy the papers. I mean, it's natural. You are pushed.
Even though I give you the number of the papers to buy.
You can't override nature. Or supposing you had some money in your pocket and you were going to buy a device for this company, and on your way, somebody just told you your son is in hospital, is on admission. And you went there and the doctor said, look, if you don't deposit XYZ money, I'm not even touching him. Look, the money can be for whoever. You're going to put it right there and save that one. So those hierarchy of needs must be seen to have been met in the custodians of the very sensitive particulars of our persons. Okay? So if we want to make it safer at the moment, we can take it higher up and create what you call, walls, clearance codes, which you have to access before you can go in. And even those clearance codes will actually allow you to access information based on a need-to-know basis.
Well, these issues will be with us for some time, for a long time to come, I reckon. But I'd like to thank you for coming on, retired Captain Omar
very
Ali,
much.
security consultant. Well, back after this break. Join us again.
Mr. Accountant.
Sir.
I can see we have 4 more people on our staff list. Do you have the slightest idea how much this is going to cost me?
Not a kobo, sir.
Do you think I'm joking here?
No, sir.
So, who is going to pay them?
GIS will.
GIS?
Yes. Graduate Internship Scheme will, sir.
Tell me more about it.
Yes is another innovative way the federal government seeks to empower youth and women by getting them jobs and skills they need to make a living. Private and public organizations will mentor graduates for a period of 1 year. Interns will be paid by the federal government through the GIS program. Interested companies and organizations should check the GIS website for more information. SHOPE, Graduate Internship Scheme, brought to you by SHOPE and implemented by the Federal Ministry of Finance.